Check. This is Pep's vision, Shaw's mission. Becker's voice whispering to make the right decision. It took 3 to 6.
Welcome to another edition of Unconventional Playbook, Playmakers Edition. And I've been waiting for this interview for a long time. You know, we've been trying to get him on. He's a busy man, but we finally etched out a slate of time for him to come on and talk about the Playmakers program. We've got our guy, Mr. Kris Becker. Kris, welcome to the program, my friend.
Hey, appreciate you having me, Lionel. Appreciate it.
Yeah, listen, everybody sees the logo of Playmakers around the area. Obviously, Playmakers have done some really, really good things in the past in terms of developing players, just being a brand in AAU that everybody recognizes. Well, what I want to dive into first is who Kris Becker really is. How did you get started with Playmakers, and kind of give the audience your background when it comes to basketball?
I started basketball-wise. It's a lot of years now. We don't date back that far anymore when you get to my age. But I started way back in the day when I moved to Waukegan, Illinois, and then I just grabbed a local park district phone number, called Deerfield Park District, and said, "Hey, I want to coach." So 21 years old. Hey, I just want to coach. So I kind of got the bug and the itch, when I got out of college in Illinois. Coached for a couple of years doing that. Then I kind of transitioned and started helping out with some of the programs on the girls' side for high school and running a little. That went on for a few years, but then we moved to Wisconsin. Once we moved to Wisconsin, a few years went by, and I started helping with some local girls programs that were pretty talented, but helping with the local girls program with both youth and helping and running their youth program as well as running a high school program. At that time, we had 40 to 45 girls participating just in the summer. So we'll call it 4 to 4.5 teams participating all summer. So that's kind of how the region, kickoff was. Inside of that, a few of the kickoff players to start the Playmaker Girls program, and Talia Walton and Reagan Appleby and those guys, and those ladies, I was coaching them both at the youth level on Talia and Britt Bruni and a few of those girls. I was coaching them at the youth level for school. And then I just decided, well, why don't we put together a team of local area players, because the area was pretty talented, and then start going to play some of these tournaments, games, et cetera, within the region. And we started off pretty small in the seventh grade time frame. And then by 8th grade, we started the Playmaker program. So in 8th grade, at that time, I believe it was in 2013, we started the games. And obviously it helped. Talia Walton was a Division I basketball player. Reagan was a scholarship player. We had Lauren Fetch, who's currently playing professionally. We had Lexi Handel. We had some pretty talented players.
Yeah, those are great names
to grab right away. That added legitimacy to the fact that we were year 1, year 2 of the program. So we went from 2-3 teams in 1 year to 20 teams the next year. So we really did do a good job of getting quality players, families into the program, which then's been doing. The following year, Jason Jesperson owned the boys, and he was looking to just transition out. He was transitioning to his career, those kind of things. So I purchased the boys program from Jason that year. So I believe it was 2014 or 2015 is when I took over directing the program. So that's kind of the evolution of where I started. And Lionel, we're going to lie here and say 15 years ago when I was 21 years old. And I transitioned from there, obviously, into some of the high school and youth space and going through that process. As well as, to be fair, I did coach my kids' teams as they were youth players and within their schools and things like that, all the way through their 8th grade years. That's the evolution of how we got here. And obviously, 2014, 15 transitioned into, holy cow, we're 10, 11, 12 years later, and now we're just, continuing to kind of try to feed the beast every year.
Yeah, well, the one thing that I am intrigued about, because I see where Playmakers is now, and I know that's a lot of, blood, sweat, and tears, hard work to get the program where it is now. What were some of the, whenever you start something or take over something, there are always those challenges. What were some of the challenges early on that you feel like you faced and that you overcame when you took over the Playmaker program?
I was very fortunate. I had a little bit of experience in the space. Jason Jesperson had enormous experience in space for a decade to 15 years. So I was able to lean on him And the thing that saved me in many instances was I don't know what I don't know, but the good part was he did. And he was willing to stay on board and do those kind of things. When we sat down initially, he had kind of given me a list of 1 to 3 things, 3 to 5 things, take your pick, that you don't know this, and this is going to be hard. So I actually kind of had a heads up on some of the things that were coming. On the girls' side, it was a little easier because I had all the relationships. On the boys' side, I didn't have any relationships. So the first one I'll tell you is relationships is something that just takes time. No matter how hard you try, you can't just pick up a phone and call a high school coach, call a parent, call a college coach. You just can't do it the instant you take over. The playmaker name is the playmaker name, but your name also has to be associated with something, a history, or whatever the case may be, in order to get into those rooms, get on those calls, or what it leads to. So relationships is one. The next best thing that I was told throughout that process was you can't recruit everybody. You can't recruit every team. You can't recruit everything. Although sometimes it feels like that is a mechanism of how we function, the truth is we have a great group of people, especially today, a great group of people on both the boys and the girls side that do a phenomenal job of outreach, of networking, of using their networks and their connections and their staffs and et cetera, both within the high school and college ranks that help us garner interest with people. So the 2 biggest challenges that I thought I faced right away, outside of just logistically learning how to run a program, was you want to do everything you can to try to help players reach the level that they want to reach. But it really did take time, phone calls, it took time going to tournaments. We had to pick tournaments where I knew those coaches were. And I just had to walk up to coaches and start having a conversation and say, hey, just want to let you know, I'm with, Playmaker program. Here's some of the kids we have. Here's a program. Here's my card, et cetera. And just start pounding the pavement to try to do that. So that just took time. And I wanted to accelerate that time as much as possible. I feel like we're in a great spot today. But if you go back, sure, there's a lot of stress in that, but we've got players that have the capability to play at the next level. And I'm reaching out, trying to get additional contacts, more people. Who do you talk to? This one. And then, as far as the recruiting side goes, as far as within the program, for a while, it did kind of feel like a 1 to 1.5 person shop kind of thing. Maybe a 2-person shop. Now I feel like we've kind of broadened our reach on that, but things are just. And we're very fortunate. We're very fortunate that no one will disagree that we're competitive. We don't tout ourselves to be the best program in the state. We don't tout ourselves to send the highest level players to college, but we will work very hard or as hard as anybody else to get you to the level of that. I think that reputation has followed us, and I think players then are starting to kind of. So I'll say those are the 2 biggest challenges that I faced. The other one, to be fair, was just time. Is I wasn't ready for the amount of time it takes to logistically navigate ordering uniforms, socks, just tournaments, just to logistically navigate it. You kind of struggle to realize what it truly takes for some of these people. And then on the flip side, what high school coaches have, into their timelines to get things done. What high school athletic directors have. I have a greater appreciation of how hard it is for when you show up and you get to watch a game at Holman or, in Milwaukee for a Playmaker game, whatever, how hard it is to get to that point. It's not as easy as one may think.
Yeah. AAU has grown so much over the years since I was a kid growing up playing basketball myself to now. The comparison, there really is no comparison. And there are a lot of AAU programs out there that I've kind of rubbed elbows with. And this is not throwing shade on any other AAU program, but you were gracious enough to bring me on when the girls program was just getting off the ground with Playmakers. And the one thing that really impressed me when I got involved with the program is just the care factor from the coaches to the players. The program was actually having practices. I remember when we were coaching, we had 3 practices a week. So this wasn't like a money grab bag where you just grabbed a bunch of really, really good high school players and sent them to tournaments to play. There was actually player development going on. There was actually workouts. There was actually practices. So this was another avenue outside the high school game where players could come in and get really good teaching, really good player development. And so that has always impressed me about Playmakers. I'm not saying that there aren't other programs that aren't doing that, but up until that point, Kris, I had never seen that from an AAU program. So I get asked this question all the time. So I'm going to ask you, for all the parents out there, if you had a parent come up to you and say, why Playmakers? Why Playmakers over another program? What would be the answer you would give them?
We won't sacrifice our standard for any reason or for any. So our standard is, and I've said this since the beginning, if we have 500 players within the Playmaker program, if we could put out in post that 500 players got better in a season, then as a director, I feel that that's a successful season. Now, there are other components that go into making a season successful versus more successful than another. But if we can start at the base, that our players have gotten better, then as a director, on the foundation of what we are as a program, I'm not disappointed. And so our standard is our standard. I mean, it's not going to be sacrificed. What we are, and there are opportunities for us to improve. There are things that we can do every single year to get better. And there's no question about it. But our expectations of how we play, what we do, what goes into it, player development, practicing, being a good teammate, team chemistry, all of those things. We are not talented enough to just roll the ball out and hope that we can go compete with some of these teams and then in front of college coaches as these kids get older and then expect to be successful. So success starts from getting better, right? It starts from that. That is if that's not true, then we can't move forward. We can't build the building on top of the foundation if we don't start. So what I would say is, our slogan for the year is focus on the standard. Don't focus on the result. We're going to focus on the standard. What is our standard? Win, lose, or draw. Did we meet our standard? If the answer to that question is yes, then we move on and get better the next day. So we have an intense focus as an organization on just saying, what are we? We're honest with what we are and where we're at. How can we continue to develop and get better as both players, coaches, staff, et cetera? And then the second thing is part of our standard is we don't care where kids end up. If you have 5 Division I offers and you go play Division III, we don't care. We don't care. Our goal is, are you continuing to get better? Are you continuing to work toward and reach your goals? And that whatever your goal is and your destination is, we're here to support you in that journey. So I think, and I'm not saying that other programs don't have a focus on these same things, but it is the thing that keeps me up at night if we aren't building the foundation correct. We can lose basketball games and I can put my head down and see. But if I'm having a conversation with a parent and our standard isn't being met at the foundational level, that's the stuff that keeps me in.
Yeah, the one thing that I hear from players, being a former college coach and a high school basketball coach, is that I want to get better, coach. I want to get better, coach. I want to get better. The one thing that I would highlight in Playmakers is pretty much every time I go to the building, there is some coach, some player in there working out in terms of building their skill level, building their skill development. What is your philosophy when it comes to player development within the Playmakers program?
That's an interesting one. That's evolved over time. We spent a lot of time for a lot of years. Jason Jesperson is the lead in the basketball gym. Aaron Shaw, Jason Hart, you take your pick. We have Michelle Poklinski. We have some teachers at basketball. So it started out kind of probably like a parent's journey starts out, where I wanted to drive and push players to be in a space to get better. Say, okay, we're going to create it. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to start talking to parents. I'm emailing parents. I'm doing all this. We're going to get all these kids in the gym. And what I figured out was that's only as good as the kids' interest in being there. So then what I not decided, but kind of what it's evolved into is, okay, we're going to offer this. We're going to provide you the offering. We're going to provide you the connection. We're going to provide you the coach. We're going to provide you all that. And we're going to do it not on us reaching out 20 times. We're going to offer it 2-3 times to people. We're going to continue to build it organically. But then you have to want to be in the gym. Like you're going to have to want to reach out as part of that process. So instead of just this constant barrage of just, again, like I used to call parents and say, hey, run some workouts. Like, oh, well, she doesn't know. Well, just have her come try it, and just, so like we don't do as much of that, more so that we just connect with people and say, hey, this is what we're offering. This is what we like to do. And now what's happened is, especially in the girls side, is I think, we had a ton of interest on the girls 10 years ago. And that's waned over the last 10 years, which everybody agrees. I think that shift is starting to happen again, where girls are starting to get very interested in the game and getting better at the game. And now organically, our workouts have grown 20, 30, 40%. So what I'll say is we have evolved into, here's what we're offering. We'd love to help you. We do a lot of it for free. We have some personal trainers that charge and have a fee. We have some workout series that have a fee, but as a whole, we run a free camp in the summer. We do all these same things. Is we want to kind of be an outreach and then put it in their hands to say, come over, we'll help you, we'll work with you. If you come to one tryout and pay $25 for one tryout, you can try out for the entire year in any tryout, even if you're already on a team, for free. So like you show the initiative. I'm not going to reach out to you to try to get you here and call you and text you and do all those kind of things. Now, what we're seeing, especially on the boys' side, is those numbers are big. Like there's a ton of interest. We get open runs that, I got people texting, hey, can we get in the gym and just have a run? Like we're going to bring 10 guys. So I think that hands on, but not pushy approach has now resulted in, hey, I kind of want to do this. And now my friend wants to do it. And now my teammate wants to do it. And now, her teammate wants to do it. So I think things have kind of evolved. It's allowed the program to grow from that standpoint too, because I don't care what program you're in. If we're running a workout in the summertime, I don't care if you play for another program. You're welcome to come. We're not going to pressure you to come play for this. You're welcome to come. If you're interested in coming, awesome. Join it. So I think that kind of shift in evolution has really helped us just organically grow interest, but then interest that wants to be in the gym. Not mom and dad are making me come. And I think that's not a long way.
The foundation of any program, especially AAU programs, are the people that you put your players with. If I was a high school coach out there, I would want to know who's going to be interacting with my players during the summer. If I was a parent, same thing. When you look at Playmakers coaches, and I know the people that are in the building teaching, working, and I think really, really highly of them, what do you look for in coaches? Because I know you're very meticulous about who you bring into the program, who you have interact with Playmaker players. It's not just anybody. You're just not looking for a body to come in and coach. I think you've done a really, really good job of really vetting coaches that can come in and teach and build strong relationships. And number one, just work hard for the players. So when it comes to looking at coaches and bringing coaches into Playmakers, what are some of the attributes that you look for in hiring a coach?
First thing is are you a people person? And when I say people person, I don't mean like, can you socially, are you social? I mean, like, do you genuinely care about the success of 1 through 9 or 1 through 10? And do you generally care about the development? When it's all said and done, the likelihood that we're generating professional basketball players from a percentage perspective is unbelievably low. This isn't going to be their job. So do you genuinely care about, because X's and O's can be taught and all those things can be done, but is your interest in helping your team, your players, foster your relationships with the families and et cetera? So like we start there. And from there, it really becomes like, okay, the way that we need to go about things in today's society. So this has evolved for me a little bit. So where we are today, and something that I look for is, can you say the hard thing and mean the hard thing? And then can you hold that person accountable for the thing they're not willing to do that we won't sacrifice? So as an example, if you're a bad teammate, I'll just use my team and speak on it. If you're a bad teammate, I will cut. I don't care if you're a leading scorer. I don't care if you're our best player. I will not bring you back to the team if you're a bad team. Like it starts with, are you a good person to the people around you? Because when you're in the office, when you're, with your family, when you're at the family reunion, when you're wherever, take your pick, when you're at Disneyland with your kids, something like, are you a good person around the people that are there? So like being a good teammate is important. It's not always your day. You're not always the best. Can you be happy for other people when it's their day? Can you be excited and genuinely excited for them? So I think it's important that coaches start with, are you interested and genuinely interested in the people within your team? And then can you hold them to the standard? And know that sometimes that's not always fun. No one really likes doing that 100% of the time, because saying the hard thing and then delivering accountability on the hard thing is not something anyone really wants to do, myself included. Like no one really wants to say, if you don't do this, you don't start acting different, performing different, etc., you're going to sit you. And then you sit them there. Well, that's hard because you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So I think finding people that can do both of those, because it actually is at times a contradiction of what those two things are, because you have to have a sizable, big heart to be a person that cares about everybody. And then you're going to take the person that you care about and then hold them accountable to something that as a coach and an adult they want, but they don't know they want. So in the moment, it's hard.
Yeah.
So I think if those are the two main things, right? I don't worry as much about X's and O's. I don't worry as much about, what your philosophy is. Like there's a million philosophies in basketball. I have one, you have one, other people have one. None is more right or wrong than the other. But if you can get those two pillars correct, then we as an organization, we do have kind of a way we do things. But at the same time, people are free within it, like the coaches to put their own philosophy and growth and history behind how they want to coach and what they want to do with teams specifically. And so I would say it's, 1A and 1B, and then kind of how you are as a coach is a distant, 2 or 3. Like it's something that we can all. So the one thing I will say that I'm excited about is we have a lot of young coaches. We have a lot of young coaches that are excited, that are good, that are talented, far more talented than I ever was. And, far more talented than, if you talk to Michelle Lipinski, you'll see some of these young coaches come up. She's in that, wow, she's 24 years old and she's ahead of the game. She's advanced.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have some young coaches within the program that are exciting because they're kind of the next phase, right? Like the old guard of the Aaron Shaws, the Lionel Joneses, and the Kris Beckers, and the Michelle Lipinskis. That guard is in the next 3 to 4 years going to transition out and kind of age out of doing this. Well, what's the youth look like? It's pretty bright.
Yeah. Yeah. You look at the word exposure. I talk to a lot of players. They want that exposure. Parents that are paying money for their kids to play AAU basketball and traveling to all these tournaments, they want exposure. Give me an idea of what Playmakers is doing to help get their players exposure to college coaches.
Sure. One of the things that we were at the forefront of is I did hire Michelle Lipinski a few years ago now. She coached our 2022 team, so I was in 2021. And she now takes over. So on the girls' side, for sure, and some on the boys as well. On the girls' side, Michelle has an extensive network. Obviously, she partnered and received information from me as far as my network is concerned, et cetera. So we went out and we said, hey, what's one valuable thing we can add? Recruiting coordinators and more. And so Michelle has been able to create a vast network, and she is extremely diligent about how she goes about it. So from an exposure perspective, we spend time and resources only focusing on how do we get college coaches to our games. Okay. And to go back to the care factor, Michelle will text me during tournaments that I'm not at, because I am on the boys' side coaching, right? That I'm not at. And she'll say, we had 12 coaches at our games. These were coaches that could realistically recruit our players. They're D1, D2, whatever, D3, whatever the level of coaches are. This is what we had at each level. So she, to take the care factor, she genuinely cares that coaches are there that can recruit our players, that are interested in our players, that our players have the ability to play at. So that was one thing we did long before anybody else. The other thing that no one sees is the time spent in the off season, which for us, this is the off season, and the time spent leading up to tournaments. That is texting coaches, emailing coaches, calling coaches, connecting with coaches. That says, hey, this is where our players are going to be. This is what we're doing. Here's our schedule. Hey, how's your season going? What do you need next year? I tell people all the time, if I spend less than 100 hours in the month of June talking to college coaches leading into the month of July, I'd be shocked. And that's just talking to college coaches, not texting college coaches, not emailing college coaches. That's just on the phone talking to college coaches. You're talking 20 to 25 hours a week on the phone on top of text. So it is a lot to try to get to the point where we can get coaches into the gym to watch our players, because high school recruiting has never been harder than it is today. Lastly, like, and we did this a few years ago, and we're going to do it again this year for both boys and girls. And I pushed through a few coaches, is we're going to run what we call a college evaluation camp. And we're going to bring in Division II, Division III, and NAIA coaches. We're going to get them into a gym. We're going to get all of our 17E players, as well as a handful of 6 teams. We're going to bring all the teams in. But then we're going to probably bring in a 16U team or two as well into that. And then we're also going to live stream that so that Division I coaches have the ability to watch it. So we're going to use that network and say, hey, on March 31st, before AAU even starts, come look at every playmaker player within a practice, within a scrimmage, still work, blah, blah, blah. Come look. We'll pay for the food. It doesn't cost you anything to get in. I've already talked to probably a dozen coaches on the boys' side. They're in. I've probably talked to half a dozen coaches so far on the girls' side. They're in. Of course, they have to be in when, the March shows up. But we're going to run a camp. I call it a camp. We're basically going to run a practice, 2 to 2.5 hour practice. That's only going to be our players. And every coach that comes is only going to be looking at our players. That's going to be, again, D2, D3, and AI. But then D1, we are going to live stream it. I have 5 cameras that I can live stream. So we're going to try to live stream from different angles and those kind of things, and give Division I coaches the opportunity to do it as well. So that's likely going to happen the weekend before the Final Four.
That is absolutely awesome and fantastic. Absolutely awesome and fantastic. My whole philosophy as a coach, I'm a big experience guy. I think, nowadays when you talk to players, there's a lot of burnout out there. And I think that's attributing to basketball numbers going down at the high school level. It's a long season. Basketball season is the longest season out of any sport at the high school level. And then you have AAU on top of that during the summer. So I'm a big experience guy, building the experience for the players. You've mentioned some really, really good names that have come through the Playmakers program, AKA Talia Walton. When you have all the players that we have, and we can sit here all day and name really, really great players and just great human beings that have come through the Playmaker program. When you look at those players and they look back at their experience going through the Playmakers program, what do you want them to say about their experience with Playmaker?
First and foremost, and I have a saying, right? And I'd like to establish it to the entire program. If we do our job and we do all the things, do the hard things that sometimes you won't enjoy, you may not invite me to your graduation, but I want you to invite me to your wedding. I want you to look back, and I want you to say, I can appreciate and respect what that coach or that person is trying to do for me, because I see the vision now as a 25-year-old of that person was at least pushing me to be the best that I could be. It wasn't always easy, but it did turn out to be the best thing for me at the time, or at least something I needed at the time. So I'm not saying that I don't want to go to graduations, because that'd be awesome too. But what I really want you to do is I want you to look back on your life and say, there were people within our organization that influenced you in a positive way. And I think if you go back and you talk to those people and we interviewed or just did a survey or whatever the case may be, I would like to think that there's a pretty high rate of success in that arena. And as we talk about the foundation of what we are as an organization and how we're training, that would be the foundation of alumni that I would say, I really want that question answered, preferably to 100%, to say, yes, the people that I was around did everything they could to make me as good as they could possibly I could be from a personal and a basketball perspective. So I will say that that's actually where it ends for me. Can they love and appreciate the opportunity that we provided to them, and did it influence their life in a positive way? So as an example, last week I was on the phone from a player that graduated from my program in 2017 as a reference for her to be a physical therapist. So like, that's what I want.
Yeah.
That's what I want. That's what I want Lionel Jones to be for someone someday. That's what I want Michelle Bobinski or Jason Jesperson or all the people that come through your organization. Like, I want us to be friends as the long term, but I want us to have a great relationship and an understanding of what we did, how we did it, and why we did it when you're 25 and you have a family, when you're 30 and you have.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're getting there. Pep has a saying, you know, like our involvement in relationship with you doesn't end because you graduated from that program. You know, like if you have questions, you have issues, you're having a hard time, your college transition is hard, get it phone. So we talk to those people, you know, and we did. So I really do want that future respect and appreciation for what we went through as an organization to provide you that opportunity. And then you look back on and say, that was a really, not only a great time of my life, but I appreciate what they did for me.
Yeah. Yeah. As a coach, there have been many moments throughout my career that I'm pretty proud of. There is no moment that I'm more proud of than when I did a former player's wedding a couple of years ago. And that stands out to me as one of my most proudest moments, because then it became more than just basketball. For someone to want you to be a part of their wedding, to officiate their wedding, I had never done anything like that before. So I was a nervous wreck. I didn't want to mess it up. So I can definitely understand that. You look back of all the stuff that you've done with basketball as a player, as a coach, any one moment that stands out to you that would be Kris Becker's proudest moment as a basketball coach?
Boy. Me on the spot here. I would say I'll there is, but it's going to be, it's going to be 2 moments.
Okay.
And it's going to involve Talia. Okay. When Talia was an 8th grader, Talia might not appreciate this story as much as I do, but it's just going out there. When Talia was an 8th grader, Talia would always be hurt if she didn't play well. Her knee would hurt, her arm would hurt, back would hurt. Like, take your pick. She'd always find the reason. Then she wouldn't play hard. Then she wouldn't, you know. So we're playing, I believe it was Marshfield at the 8th grade girls state tournament. And I believe if we won this game, we were going to the final 8. And 20 seconds into the game, I called a timeout and I looked at her and I said, if you don't play hard, I will sit you here for the rest of the game. And she went out there and she just jogged herself up and down the floor. We subbed her and she sat there the rest of the game while we took a 30-point L to Marshfield. And in all honesty, we don't beat them with around the court, but she sat there the entire rest of the game. And she became the water girl for everybody on the team. And she sat there the rest of the game. Years later, she said, that's the moment when I realized that it doesn't matter how good I am if I'm not able to be the right kind of person and player for my team. So it took her years. I mean, it took her 3-4 years to say that. But when she said it, I was like, it like, awesome. We can build something on that. And that was actually the moment when I realized, like, okay, I didn't sacrifice just because she was our best player. And we were out there just because she's our best player. And now she's a completely different type of player with a completely different potential ceiling and arc and those kind of things, because her focus on what makes a good player change. And for the positive, I said to him, okay, well, we can build something on that. And it's kind of how we got to where we are as far as building the stand. So like, honestly, like my proudest moment was realizing, take basketball out of it. If we do the things that are necessary and put the ingredients into a bowl that lead to winning and success and all those kind of things, that if we do the small stuff in there, wow, can we really pull out some greatness over time if we do those things. So just realizing that it worked for her. You know Talia's story. Talia is an awesome human being. She's great, but she's also sometimes, a little stubborn. But when you reach someone, that was the brightest reach someone moment for me. Yeah. And that was the one. And then obviously you were coaching that group at that time. So like I could just see it was different. She was different. and that was awesome. So I would say, like, in the last, it was a while ago now. That was in the late 20 teens, but it was one of those moments that not only changed my perspective for the organization on how we can go about things, because I'm constantly learning from people as well. I'm constantly learning from players and you and, other people constantly. That was a moment where I realized that we can really do this in a different way than just think about basketball. I certainly thought about basketball far more, the basketball piece, than I do today.
Yeah. Yeah. Last question before we wrap this up. This is Unconventional Playbook Playmakers Edition. Kris, thanks for coming on. I got one last question for you before we wrap this thing up. Obviously, there's a lot of hard work that goes into Playmakers. You got player development, you got all the tournaments, you got all that good stuff. But it's the travel and the memories that you make in the hotels, in the states and the cities that you go to. I know I have a lot of memories that I have in my head about, some of the players and teams that I coached over the years. Is there any one trip or any one tournament, something that's really memorable for you? Maybe a funny story that you have about being on the road with one of your teams?
We got 1,000 of those lineup, but you're going to be in this one. You're going to be in this one.
All right.
This would have been, I think, 2016 or 2017. And we decided, because girls at that time, you were on a week-long, like an 8-day trip. So we had to go to Cincinnati, Ohio.
I remember that.
Then we had to go to Chicago. And we had parents on the team that decided, let's go ahead and get Airbnbs for this. So it turned into the entirety of teams staying in Airbnbs, but for those two, which was it was awesome. But, those moments and there's going to be probably 2 or 3, but those moments where everybody just enjoys each other. My best memories of trips aren't ever related to basketball. And obviously these players, they're never going to remember what happened on a random Saturday in June when they were a sophomore. They're not. But they're going to remember that trip. I've got 2 more moments and both of them, unfortunately, involved me getting thrown into the pool. Emily Annis's year, the 2019 class and the 2020 class, those 2 classes, we actually rented an Airbnb when we went down to Kentucky for 4 days. The whole team ganged up to throw me in the pool and succeeded, disappointingly for me, and succeeded. But everybody stayed in the same place. It was just a great experience, just for people to understand that basketball is basketball. When we're done, let's go do this. Let's go barbecue. Let's go do all that. And then last year, we were in Memphis, and the 17U team was out there, the 16U team was out there, coaches were out there, the 14U team was out there. They're all out in the pool. And of course, I end up getting thrown in the pool by Bryce Off. My Bryce Off, then as well, kind of snuck up on me. I'm proud of him for that. I'm proud of him. But like those moments where you realize that basketball is basketball and we're done, they're enjoying the camaraderie, the parents, the players across teams, across ages are enjoying each other. And then when you see the older group and you're the 13 or 14, now you're seeing what you're expected to be when you get there. Like that's the part of it that I'll remember. And that's the part of it that kind of sticks in your mind. And like you said, like when you have those trips, when you do those things, those are the moments that I will appreciate. And then the last one is because I do have my kids and I do transport them everywhere. As much as they didn't talk to me a ton in the car, and we would have moments, and sometimes it's hours long that we'd sit there and have conversations, but I enjoy the car ride. I got 1 more year of it. I will enjoy the car ride to wherever we go. Just there's nowhere to go. They can't run. They can't sneak out. They can't shut the door. Like you're just stuck. And again, just having that time and that ability to do those things, like those are the things that I remember and appreciated. So unfortunately, most of my memories can be getting thrown in the pool. But it's good. I mean, the kids really, and the families really make the experience great. So that's what sticks out to me. All those trips, all those stories really stick out.
Yeah, Kris Becker, the head of Wisconsin Playmakers organization. If you're looking for an organization that is family driven, where you're going to get the best bang for your buck, you're going to get player development, and most of all, you're going to get a high care factor. I will urge anyone that's watching this video that is maybe in between choosing a AAU organization, wants to know a little bit more about Playmakers, or just this video has been shared to you from another person that's affiliated with us, take a good hard look at Playmakers. I always say this, even when I was a college coach recruiting players out of high school, I think one of the most overused words in sports is the word family. Everybody has it on their website. Everybody breaks the huddle with it. Everybody has it on their Twitter or X page or whatever. But very few organizations and very few places walk the walk and talk the talk. And I think Playmakers does that. We are definitely a family. So take a look, take a good, strong, hard look at us if you are on the fence between AAU organizations. Kris, thanks a lot, man, for joining us. This has been an absolutely fantastic conversation. I'd like to have you on again.
Sounds great. Appreciate it.
Kris Becker, owner of the Wisconsin Playmakers organization. We will put links in the comments of this video for you to be able to contact us, reach out to any of the coaches, any of the administration with Playmakers. We'll definitely have that in there. Please take a long, hard look at Wisconsin Playmakers organization. For myself and Kris Becker, this has been Unconventional Playbook, Wisconsin Playmakers edition, and we will make sure to see you when we see you. Thanks a lot. Thanks again, Kris.
See ya.